ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ትችላላችሁ።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ ጥያቄና መልስ የክፍል ስራዎች ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁት አይነት በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ ከናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
We can start. Last time I think we have discussed issues related to climate and weather, specifically in Ethiopia and to some Horn African countries. In that chapter, we have tried to differentiate what weather and climate are, number one. Number two, what elements individually and together result weather and climate. Especially, as you all know, weather and environmental elements are not homogeneous over space, or atmospheric elements are not homogeneous over space. If so, which variables, which factors influence the spatial inequality or unevenness of these atmospheric elements, and how each controls each variables, how each factors influence weather and climate. And we have also tried to discuss the major regions, okay, rainfall regions, temperature regions, and the attributes of each rainfall and temperature regions. Okay. So from this, you are expected to identify one region from the other region by simply looking at the characteristics of each rainfall and temperature regions. We have also discussed the current issue, the so-called global warming or environmental warming, okay, or climate change in short. What does it mean by this change? Okay. How can we measure this change? What factors, okay, contribute to the occurrence of this change, climate change, or what are the causes of climate change or global warming? Okay. We have tried to pinpoint, okay, these curves as natural related curves and man-made or anthropogenic related curves that aggravate, that exacerbate this dynamism, this change. Okay, the outward, okay, rise of temperature. Okay. How nature, okay, contributed to the climate change. Okay. How our day-to-day activity influence our environment and contributed to this change. Okay, we have to justify the way our every activity is influencing our environment. What are the repercussions of global warming? Okay, we have also discussed these issues, the repercussions, the outcomes, or the final consequences of the changing environment, the rising temperature. Okay, global warming has a profound impact on almost every aspect of human life, of our economy, okay, our health, our productivity, okay, our way of wearing, way of living, okay. So we are expected to identify these, okay, repercussions, so that these outcomes will help us think, okay, about how to reduce, how to, okay, improve our approach to the environment. The other issue was nothing but the mechanisms. Okay, what are the mechanisms that the researchers, environmentalists, and other actors forwarded to fully control or at least reduce the temperature increment or global warming? Okay. What are the mechanisms, the strategies, the approach that, okay, international researchers advised us to implement in our daily activity? Okay. We have three approach, like mitigation as one very important strategy or solution or approach for global warming. Okay, how this approach help us reduce, okay, global warming is a very important question. How? We have to respond to this question, the how question. Okay, how can we mitigate our activity? How can we control? How can we reduce? Mitigation means nothing but reducing or controlling the cause of global warming from its source. Okay, as I have said several times, human activities like deforestation, like emission from vehicles, emission from factories, okay, so on and so forth, are considered as the cause of chlorofluorocarbon or carbon dioxide emission to the atmosphere. So to reduce the volume of carbon dioxide, okay, from the atmosphere, number one, plantation is very important. Okay, planting trees in any place, okay, whether in a deforested area or in a very open space. Okay, if we plant trees in deforested areas or in areas where there were trees before, that's called a reforestation strategy or reforestation approach. Planting trees in a very open area where there was no tree before, that is afforestation. So in any ways, planting trees very important because trees naturally consume carbon dioxide from the surrounding environment because carbon dioxide helps vegetation, plant species to prepare their own food through the process of photosynthesis. And trees release oxygen to the atmosphere through this natural process or biological process. It's possible to mitigate or control it. The other very important, very crucial strategy is resilience. In fact, the issue of global warming is not the responsibility of only the government or governments, or researchers or environmentalists. The issue of global warming has to be the issue of every one of us. Okay, we all are responsible to this agenda. Okay, everybody as responsible to this issue, but we all have no equal knowledge about this responsibility and about our environment. The question is how to raise equal knowledge to everybody. This is a very big problem. Okay, raising equal knowledge or information about the environment, about nature, about plants, water, so on and so forth, any environmental elements is a very crucial point. Unless it's difficult to properly manage our environment by a single institute, office, or a single actor like the government or environmentalists only, or researchers only. This needs critical thinking. Okay, this needs paradigm shift. Okay, how the world can shift from the point where we are to the point that we dream is a very important question. Okay. Resilience, therefore, advises us think critically, raising awareness via different channels like websites, like mainstreaming medias, like social medias, like formal learning forums like this, so on and so forth. So that these channels allows us diffuse knowledge from the point of, or from the researchers, scientists, environmentalists, so on and so forth, to the community about how to reduce global warming, how to protect our environment, how to control and fully curb the sources of global warming, so on and so forth. Okay. Well, having said this, let's now discuss chapter 6, which is about soil, natural vegetation, and wildlife resources of Ethiopia and the whole Africa. In this chapter, these are some of the main points and some of the sub-contents to be discussed, to be covered in our discussion. As usual, in this chapter, we have about 4 major objectives, okay, that you are expected to attain at the end of the day. Okay, what's expected from you, okay, after covering this chapter. Number 1, you are expected to define new terminologies as usual and identify the major soil types of Ethiopia. Conceptualize what soil is, what soil erosion or soil degradation is, how soil erosion should be managed or controlled, so on and so forth. The other very important question is about vegetation. Okay, you are expected to conceptualize the vegetation species that are found here in Ethiopia, vegetation degradation, vegetation management, degradation management, so on and so forth. The third very important thing that we will discuss in this chapter and we are expected to conceptualize is about wildlife resources. As you all know, Ethiopia has diverse plant species. Ethiopia has diverse wildlife resources, okay, endemic wildlife resources. Ethiopia has diverse soil types because Ethiopia has diverse climatic regions, diverse physiographic regions, so that in this diverse physiographic region, we have diverse plant species, okay, grown by adapting that diverse climatic condition. We have also different, okay, wildlife resources. We will discuss each one by one later on. The first issue is nothing but soil. As you know, our planet Earth is made up of from different materials, okay, from rocks, from minerals, so on and so forth, organic matters, so on and so forth. So having this formation of the planet, you can imagine the planet has different layers, the upper layer, the mid layer, and the lower layer, layered, okay, vertically, okay, from the bottom to the upper to the lower part of the planet. So how soil is formed is a very important question. What does it mean by soil? Is a very important question. In fact, it's not new to you because we all are dependent on, okay, especially we agrarians, we low developed countries are dependent on soil because our economy is still relied on soil. Okay, soil is nothing but made up of different materials, as we have said several times, from weathered mineral materials, from organic matter, from air, water, so on and so forth. But these materials are not equally available on a single soil. Okay. For instance, weathered mineral materials has nearly half, okay, share from the soil, whereas air has about, okay, 1/4 of the content of the soil, and water too has 1/4 percentage, and it has organic matters too with a share of about 5%. But how soil is formed, which variables lead to the formation of soil is a very important question. Soil formation needs its own variables. For instance, it needs climate. Okay, when the environment is warming and cooling, you can imagine an object that's found on Earth once relax, on the other time contract. Okay, this relaxation and contraction of an object that are found on Earth at the end of the day will be fractured into two or more than that parts, and different components, different actors like we humans, like animals, so on and so forth, at the end of the day, result the fracture and decomposition, so on and so forth of these materials. So climate is one very important contributor, topography, organism, parent materials, so on and so forth, including time. Time has also its own influence on the formation of soil. In fact, soil formation process is not a single or a short period outcome, but it needs long period of time because, for instance, when we consider climate as a contributor, climate variability in the summer, in the winter, you can imagine. This variability results contraction and relaxation, and so it needs time to contract and to relax because it keeps the environment to be cooled and hot. Through this relaxation and contraction, materials or rocks might be disintegrated into, fractured into that different parts, so that that rock, that boulder, that big-sized material would by the end of the day change into a smaller material, so that that way of fragmentation, that way of disintegration of rocks, materials, substances will result at the end of the day in the formation of the decomposition of these materials together, and result at the end of the day in the formation of soil. This process of disintegration, separation, and change of the rocks or materials into smaller parts is called weathering. It's a process of disintegration of rocks via different reasons like contraction and relaxation. Weathering involves three phases, like mechanical or physical disintegration, biological disintegration, and chemical disintegration. Okay, when we say rocks are disintegrated, it may be physical, it may be chemical, or biological. Okay. Physical disintegration causes the change of the size of rocks without the change of the chemical contents. Okay. This physical or mechanical disintegration may be facilitated by we people, by animals, and so forth. Okay. By climate, okay, via this contraction and relaxation process. Whereas biological disintegration is nothing but the disintegration of rocks by plants, animals, and microbes without the interference or intervention of we people. Whereas the third one, chemical disintegration, is not the physical change or the size change of rocks, but the change of the chemical constituents of rocks. Okay, as you know, rocks have different constituents. So this natural process of loss of constituents of rocks is called chemical change or chemical weathering. Soil has different properties, as we all know. It has physical property and chemical property of characteristics. As you all know, soil has different constituents, okay, like minerals, electric conductivity, soil pH. These are the chemical properties, chemical characteristics of soil, whereas the texture, structure, porosity are some of the mechanical or physical properties of soils. In Ethiopia, as you all know, Ethiopia has diverse agroclimatic region. In this diverse agroclimatic region, Ethiopia owns diverse soil types. Ethiopia has different soil types. These different soil types has been identified by Food and Agricultural Organization. And this organization, FAO, has about nearly 18 soil associations in Ethiopia, considering the different variables like environmental conditions, like the place where it is, like the unique characteristics of each soil association, so on and so forth. Considering these variables, considering these elements, FAO has tried to identify nearly 18 soil associations in Ethiopia. Okay, in the highland regions, in the lowland regions, so on and so forth. The first soil association are neutral soils and alkali soils. Where this soil is found in Ethiopia is a very important question. Okay, as an actor of geographic facts, we have to know the location of this soil type, where it is. This soil type is dominantly found in southwestern highlands like Wallagga, Kaffa, Ilababura, and eastern highlands. Okay, don't forget which part are grouped under these eastern highlands. Okay, this soil type is found in these regions, where these regions are of gentle sloping grounds, and these regions are rainy almost throughout the year, as we have said in chapter 4 when we talk about the physiographic regions. Due to the rainy nature of this region, this soil type is poor in soluble minerals like potassium, calcium, so on and so forth. You can imagine rainy regions experience leaching because of the existing or available volume of water or rain. The second soil type is vertisol or vertisols in general, where these soils are found. This soil type in Ethiopia are predominantly found in northwestern, central, and southern highlands, especially but not solely in Shawa, Gojam, Marsi, Bale, and central highlands. This soil type has very high natural chemical fertility, you can imagine.
በትምህርት ከፍ ብሎ መብረር ይቻላል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅናን ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ዲግሪ ኤምቢኤ በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምቢኤ በባንኪንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ ኤምቢኤ በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ ኤምቢኤ በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ ኤምኤስሲ በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ እና ኢኮኖሚክስ ዘርፎች በእውቀት ለመቅረጽ የበቁ ፕሮፌሰሮቻችን አረንጓዴ መብራታቸውን አብርተዋል። በነገራችን ላይ በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሚመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች የትኩረት መስክ ትምህርቶቹ መሰጠታቸው ልዩ ያደርገናል። በምርጥ የትምህርት ስርዓት የተገነባው ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በመጀመሪያ ዲግሪ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት አስተማማኝ ትምህርት ይገቢውና ራስዎንና ሀገሮን ይለውጡ። አድራሻ 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
That's why these regions, the mentioned parts of Ethiopia, are considered as the fertile grounds of the country. Don't forget Arsi, don't forget Bale, the Hararge, for which agricultural products these parts of Ethiopia are suitable for because of the nature of rocks, I mean the nature of the soil. The nature of the fertility level of the soil, vertisoil. The third association, litosol, cambisol, and rigosol. These are found in areas of low rainfall. Okay, don't forget the first two associations. Okay, which are found in the highland parts of Ethiopia. These are, however, found in low rainfall regions. That means these soils are found in lowland parts of the country, having rugged and steep slopes. And this soil has unique characters like low water holding capacity. As a result, the soil is limited agricultural purpose. Okay, the soil is not fertile enough, so that the soil is not as such productive enough. It has limited agricultural purpose. That means it doesn't mean that the soil is not suitable for the production of any agricultural product, but it has limited output at the end of the day because of number one, no sufficient rain in that region. Number two, by nature, the soil has very poor water holding capacity. Without water, you can imagine it's difficult to produce any agricultural product. The other soil association are xerosols, yermosols, and solanchak. These soils, as its name implies, is found in a very deserty ground, okay, in a very arid region and some arid areas, and FAO has identified the soil as high salt content and very low organic content. Don't forget the arid and semi-arid regions are occupied by plant species that are very short in height and under grows the plant species are common in that region, so that region has low organic soils of low organic contents. Okay, because that region has plant species having little leaf or thin leaf or no leaf at all. As a result, the contribution of plant species like trees or vegetations to soil formation is insignificant. As a result, it has low organic content and have poor humus content, and because of this natural location, okay, in deserty or arid and semi-arid regions. In Ethiopia, this type of soil is found in the Rift Valley region, particularly in Ogaden, northeastern escarpment, the Afar plains. These regions occupy this kind of soil. The other soil association is fluvial. This type of soil is developed on recently accumulated or deposited sediments. Okay, you can imagine where sediments are available, where accumulation of rocks is common. You can imagine. Okay, sedimentation, new sedimentation or recent accumulation of rocks is common in areas where flood is common. Fluvials are much prized for intensive agriculture. Okay, these soils are common in the lower part of a river, or these soils are common along the sides of rivers, because due to flood, due to erosion and transportation of eroded materials via floods, deposition is common in river sides. So around Omo, Awash, Abai, and other almost all major rivers and their lower parts and along the sides of these rivers, this type of soil is available and very fertile, so that the soil is very much prized, very much attractive for intensive agriculture. The other soil association that are found here in Ethiopia are levee soils, you can imagine. This soil type are developed in areas where pronounced wet and dry seasons occur in alteration or alternative dry and alternative wet season is common. This season is common almost in all highland regions of the country, you can imagine, because in almost all highland regions, whether it is western or southeastern, these regions experience half year dry and half year wet seasons. Okay, you can imagine the length of summer and the length of winter or dry seasons. This kind of season is common in many parts of Ethiopia, especially Gojam, central and eastern highlands. Okay, and this type of soil has good chemical nutrients and best agricultural soil types in Ethiopia, like Fluvisols. This soil too is preferable and good for intensive agricultural production. Having these diverse soil types, having these diverse soil characteristics, now we know what type of soil is found where. Look, and which type of soil is fertile and which type of soil is poor in terms of fertility, so that we can determine where to decide our business decision, our investment. Okay, knowing this kind of concepts helps us decide scientific decision based on the evidence, based on the reason we have. Okay, tomorrow no one knows. Okay, you might be an investor or an agricultural sector. Okay, if you are, you have to know the soil type, soils, land, soil is one very important factors of production for agriculture. But these soil types, even though Ethiopia has diverse soil types, our soil has different problems. Okay, our land, our soil is facing different problems. Of this, soil degradation or soil erosion is common. Okay, our soil fertility and our agricultural productivity is diminishing or reducing because of poor management, because of soil degradation. Okay, this is a very serious problem here in Ethiopia and almost all the Horn African countries. Environmental degradation in general and soil degradation in particular is a very serious problem. What does it mean by soil degradation is a very important question. Soil degradation means the change of soil quality or soil productivity. That change is not a positive change, but a negative change. The deterioration or decline of soil productivity or soil quality, in short, is called soil degradation. Okay. How soil is degraded is a very important question. What are the causes of soil degradation? Okay, as I've said, soil degradation means deterioration or the change or decline of the quality of soil productivity. Which part of the soil is declining or deteriorating is a very important question. It might be physical, it is biological, or it is chemical constituents. Okay, you can imagine when soil loses one of its chemical components or properties. Okay, which will help or support productivity, soil quality is changing or reducing down because it loses some of or one of its chemical constituent. So in Ethiopia, physical degradation, biological degradation, chemical degradation, so on and so forth is very, very serious. One very important study revealed that in Ethiopia, nearly 42 tons per hectare of soil is eroded annually. You can imagine, per hectare. Across all Ethiopia landmass, you can imagine the volume of soil we lost per year. Okay, this is a very serious indicator, okay, of our degradation status. Okay, what are the causes of this loss of soil? Okay, nearly 42 tons per hectare. What are the causes of this declining of soil productivity? Declining of soil quality is a very important question. The causes are stemmed from, or these causes are related to natural as well as man-made related causes. Okay, natural causes like climate, like topography or slope, flood, storms, tornadoes, wind, velocity, so on and so forth, contributed a lot for the degradation of soil. Whereas man-made related causes like, as I said before, deforestation, overgrazing, lack of soil conservation practices, over extraction of groundwater, so on and so forth, are some of anthropogenic related causes. The question is here. We can at least manage anthropogenic related causes. Okay. In fact, it's difficult to rebuild our relief structure. Okay. So it's difficult to rearrange our surface structure by our own. It's natural. So if we accept natural causes, we have to at least manage human-related causes. Okay, deforestation is manageable. Overgrazing is manageable. Conservation practices, if we can manage. Over extraction of groundwater, so on and so forth. These are some of the reasons behind environmental degradation, I mean soil degradation in particular. Having this cause in mind, how can we manage soil erosion or soil degradation? Okay, how can we manage? How can we control environmental, I mean soil degradation in particular, and environmental degradation in general is a very important question. Okay, we have different approaches or mechanisms that will help us reduce or fully curb this degradation. Of these strategies recommended by the professionals are: number one, biological management approach, biological degradation control mechanism or measure, like vegetative strips, like plantation, as I've said before, reforestation, afforestation, so on and so forth. So that trees have the ability to stick to control erosion via their roots. Okay, at least trees can reduce the speed of, for instance, floods. Okay, as a result, if we implement this biological mechanism, we can control or reduce soil degradation or soil erosion, and we will have a rehabilitated environment at the end of the day. Okay, that's why today many actors recommended, many actors are talking about these issues. Okay, in fact, we are in line with a very good track today, because the government puts these issues on the top and first rank. Okay, the government has a plan to plant at least 5 billion or million, I think billion trees on this summer season. We have to put our fingerprint to bring the government's agenda, to realize the government's plantation agenda. Okay, because it is a biological measure of environmental degradation controlling mechanism. The second one is physical measure, like contour plowing, like terracing, check dams, so on and so forth. These are physical strategies, physical mechanisms. Since our relief structure, the majority of our relief structure is highland, having steep slope. Okay, on these steep slopes, what's recommended is horizontal plowing. Okay, our farmers have to practice horizontal plowing so as to reduce the speed of floods along on that steepy grounds. Check dams, terracing, so on and so forth are some of the physical measures. These are some of the issues related to soil. Look, don't forget the strategies, controlling mechanisms. Okay, because you all have to advise advise farmers around your residential areas or whatever. Okay, we have to contribute. We have to share our knowledge to our farmers, our neighbor, so on and so forth. Okay, so these mechanisms are very interesting, very good mechanisms. The other very important issue in this chapter is the issue of vegetation of Ethiopia. Okay. Well, natural vegetation, as you all know, is nothing but a plant species that develops by nature, as its name implies, without people's interference or intervention. Okay. Don't forget the agroecological zones of Ethiopia. Ethiopia has diverse agroclimatic regions. In each agroclimatic region, Ethiopia owns diverse plant species. Don't forget in which zone origin. Don't forget in Daga zone, Barha, Olla, okay. In each region, Ethiopia has diverse plant species. The existing plant species here in Ethiopia are determined by rainfall availability and elevation. Look, what type of plant species are found in Daga and Lower Daga? What type of plant species adapt and exist in Baraha and Kwala regions? It's a very important question. Ethiopia has about 6,000 species of plants. You can imagine 6,000 species of plants. You can imagine how Ethiopia is rich in terms of plant species. Okay. From this number, nearly 10% are endemic. Okay. We are unique because we have diverse plant species. We are rich enough. We have plenty of plant species, but we don't know, number one. Number two, we are not appreciating these plant species. Okay, we are not properly appreciating and exploiting these plant species. Okay, these plant species are grouped into two: highland plant species and lowland plant species. Look, those species of plants that are found in lowland regions and arid and semi-arid regions are characterized by xeromorphic plants or xerophytes. Look, these plant species have unique characteristics. Like xerophytes have very long roots. They have also very thick barks or covers. Look, very thin leaf or no leaf at all, so on and so forth. Because these plant species are found in lowland regions where rainfall is scanty or very little. And these rainfall scanty regions, these plant species have developed natural mechanisms or natural strategies to save their life, okay, by absence of water or lack of water. Their strategy is number one, developing very long roots. Why do you think these plant species stretched down and developed very long roots? It's a very important question. Unlike highland regions, plant species in this region have no leaf at all, or have very thin leaf. Okay, why do you think these plant species have this kind of natural, okay, characteristics? Is a very important question. Whereas highland regions have also plant species. Okay, as you all know, any part of the planet having an altitude of nearly more than 1,000 meters are grouped under this category. These regions receive, okay, a very good amount of rainfall throughout the year, and you can imagine the nature of plant species as compared to lowland regions. Having these highland and lowland plant species in mind, the concept of the characteristics of this plant species in mind. Before that, highland plant species have very broad leaf, as you all know. These plant species grow upward rather than downward, unlike lowland plant species. You can imagine the difference between lowland and highland plant species. The other very important thing as the major vegetation regions of Ethiopia. Look, till now we have discussed many regions of Ethiopia, considering different variables. Okay, so far we have discussed temperature regions, we have also discussed rainfall regions, we have also discussed physiographic regions, so on and so forth. When we talk about region, we have to consider the variables we used. In this part, we are talking about natural vegetation regions. Okay. Our variable to talk about natural vegetation regions is nothing but vegetation temperature relationship. Okay. For instance, the first region we have here is Afro-alpine and sub-Afro-alpine region, forest region, woodland savanna region, steppe region, semi-desert, and desert region. So 5 vegetation regions. Look, we have vegetations on Wurch region, we have on Daga region, we have in Kola region, we have in Baraha region, Daga region, so on and so forth. Okay. Don't forget the temperature of Daga, temperature of Daga, Kola, Baraha, so on and so forth. What kind of plant species are found in each temperature region? Okay. Why that vegetation or plant species grows in which, for instance, in Daga, Daga, so on and so forth, is a very important question. Look, as I've said before, like human beings, plant species have a natural mechanism, or plant species adapt, experience mechanisms to exist in different climatic regions. Okay. As a result of this, they developed different characteristics. Okay. Because of these differences, okay, we have different forest, vegetation regions. But Ethiopia, as we have said several times, has different vegetation resource, different plant species. Okay. As I said, of the plant species, nearly 10% plant species are endemic. Okay, here in Ethiopia. But like soil resource, like animal resource, vegetation resource is encircled by many problems. Okay. As a result of these problems surrounding this vegetation resource, our vegetation is degrading. Okay. Our plant species, we are losing our plant species. We are losing our endemic plant species today because of many problems, because of many reasons. Number one, the major cause of vegetation degradation or loss of endemic plant species are like deforestation, as I have said several times, cutting of trees for different purposes, for timber purpose, for charcoal, for fuel, for expansion of land for agriculture, for residential purpose, overgrazing, for settlement purpose, so on and so forth. Because of these human-related clearing of vegetations, cutting of vegetations, vegetation degradation is a very serious problem, not only here in Ethiopia, but also almost in many developing countries. But having these problems common, especially here in Ethiopia, we have to take this issue into consideration. We have to think critically about how we are approaching our environment, how we are approaching our vegetation species, forests, so on and so forth. And we have to take measures to conserve this overexploited, degraded environment, degraded plant species. And we have to rehabilitate, re-maintain these species. Okay, we have to preserve these plant species. But to preserve, what actions need to be practiced? Okay, and who are responsible for preserving our natural vegetation? Who are responsible for rehabilitating our plant species? Is a very important question. As I have said several times, every human being, everyone here in Ethiopia, all are responsible to these plant species, because we all are responsible to transfer what we have today to the coming generation, including our natural vegetation, our forests cover too. Of these strategies, protection is one. Okay, protection in the form of national parks, in the form of sanctuaries, in the form of communals, okay, or community conservation areas, okay, so on and so forth. Protection is very important. As a country, in fact, we have different national parks, we have different sanctuaries and communals, okay, but we have to expand national parks, sanctuaries, so on and so forth. Okay, we have to expand protected areas so as to protect this kind of vegetations. When we protect vegetations, you can imagine we are protecting wild animals, because wild animals are using protected areas as a home or habitats. Okay, so it has a multi-dimensional significance. Protecting vegetation has a multi-dimensional benefit. When we protect plant species, we are protecting our environment, we are rehabilitating our climate, we are rehabilitating our soil, okay, from erosion, we are conserving animal species, and we are just promoting ourselves as a tourist destination, because tourists prefer a very green, a very protected national parks, sanctuaries, and common communals okay, to enjoy, okay, entertain, so on and so forth. So protection is one very important conservation strategy. It is not only, but also sustainable forest management is very important. Okay, sustainable forest management, continuously planting, continuously harvesting forest products. Okay, look, here we have to think one very important issue. Third world countries like us need energy. Look, the only source of energy for us are forests with no other options. Even though today we are moving toward this another option like hydroelectric power, like wind, like geothermal, but still we couldn't satisfy the local demand. Look, if we agree that forests are the only source of energy till now, what's expected from us is just sustainably producing or sustainably harvesting forests to satisfy this local demand. Okay. So the government should supply open spaces to the young community or farmers. This has to be considered as an investment. Okay. Investors should request open spaces and harvest these forests and at the end of the day supply to the local demand. Okay, so that sustainable harvesting and production of forests and forest management will help at least protect, okay, endemic plant species. The third one is a rehabilitation strategy. Rehabilitation, as its name implies, is re-maintaining the utilized environment, utilized deforested environment. Okay, recovering of forests that has been utilized or that has been deforested before. Okay. Once the community deforest trees or cut trees, or when a single resident decided to cut trees, okay, he or she has to replace that tree by a new plant. Okay, so that cutting off a single or land or area or forest is considered as substituted or rehabilitated by a newly planted tree. So rehabilitation is very important. Okay, rehabilitation. Okay, reforestation is very important. Okay, so as to maintain the degraded environment. If possible, when we cut one tree, we have to plant more than one, 2, 3, or more than that, so that we will have a positive number of trees. Okay. The other very important issue in this chapter is about wildlife resources. Okay, the wild animals in Ethiopia are diverse. We have diverse wild animals. Okay, because we have diverse physiographic regions, okay, highlands, lowlands. We have diverse water resources, rivers, lakes, okay, swampy areas, marshy areas. We have diverse lake resources too, okay, highland lakes, crater lakes, rift valley lakes. You can imagine, okay. As a result, Ethiopia has diverse wild animals with no hesitation. Common wild animals, lowland animals, arboreals or tree animals, okay, aquatic animals, okay, variety of birds in different water bodies like lakes, rivers, rain animals. So Ethiopia has diverse wild animals. But look how our plant species, how our forests are degrading. Okay, look how our protected areas like national parks are devastating. Okay, we are devastating our national parks. We are devastating our protected common areas. These areas are homes of wild animals. Okay, habitats of wild animals. Indirectly, we are losing our precious wild animals, our precious endemic animals, aquatic animals, arboreals, okay, birds, lowland animals, so on and so forth. We are not safely managing our national parks. Our national parks have unique endemic animals which attract tourists from across the world. But today, these animals have no as such given as such protection from the side of the government, from the side of the local communities, so on and so forth. Local communities, our farmers encourage toward this national parks so as to, number one, expand their farm size, to seek forests for different purposes, so on and so forth. As a result, these animals are under threat for that matter. For what purpose do these animals use it? Okay, is a very important question. Okay, it has a potential for domestication. It has also scientific and educational purposes. It has aesthetic values, considered as a tourist attraction. It has also an advantage for maintaining or keeping hydrological, ecological balance. They are also used for as a source of food, so on and so forth. Okay, our endemic animals generate, you can imagine, huge dollar, because as I've said before, people across the world decided to visit our endemic wild animals. When tourists came here in Ethiopia, they came not only to visit these wild animals, but also indirectly these tourists contribute a lot for hotel industry, the expansion of hotel industry, for the expansion of the transport sector, so on and so forth. These wild animals have also the potential to promote our image to the domestic as well as international communities. By considering these advantages, these benefits, we have to protect our wild animals. Okay, these are some of wild animal conservation sites. Ethiopia has many national parks, as I've said before. Ethiopia has many sanctuaries. Ethiopia has also many conservation areas, community conservation areas, botanical gardens, so on and so forth. The question is not the availability of this. The question is the degree of protection, the degree of focus. Okay, we have many national parks, for instance, but years ago, some of our national parks were burned or fired because of unknown reasons. Remember, Samin National Park, you can imagine. Let's have National Park. These parks were some parts of them. Anyway, these parks are still under threat. As I've said before, the question is not availability. The question is the degree of focus given by the government, the level of understanding of the surrounding or local communities about that national park. Special awareness raising needs to be given to the local communities. Without the local community, it's difficult to protect this kind of common resources. Okay, knowledge raising, training should be given to the surrounding communities, because the surrounding community has to consider that resource as their own resource, not only the government. They have to consider that resource as their own resource. Okay, ownness needs to be there by the local community. So to protect this kind of resource, raising awareness about the resource need to be given. Okay, unless who burned, for instance, the Samin National Park? No one, other than the surrounding local community, to expand farming, their farming sites, to have forest resource, so on and so forth. Okay, the government, as a result, has to aware that community. Number one, by giving incentives, by sharing some dollars from the dollars generated from that national park, from tourists, so on and so forth. Okay, the government has to raise, not only the government, we all have to share ideas, information to these people about the significance of wild animals, significance of protected and national parks, so on and so forth. The challenge of wild animal conservation, especially here in Ethiopia, is number one, as I've said before, limited awareness on the importance of wildlife. In fact, people know how wild animals are important even more than we, okay, researchers, students, whatever, people know the importance because they have strong relationship, attachment with that wild animal. Okay, but the problem is that when the government identifies that national park as a park, the people consider themselves as isolated from the resource. Okay, the problem is that. So the government has to aware that resource is theirs. Okay. The second very important issue is, the second challenge is the expansion of human settlement towards these protected areas, because the number of people in Ethiopia is growing alarmingly. This population growth results demands, okay, for land, demands for trees, so on and so forth. So human settlement expansion is also another critical problem, critical challenge. The third one is conflict of interest, okay, between, for instance, the local community who need land and the government who need to protect that land. Okay, there is a conflicting interest between the people and environmentalists and the government. So reconciling or solving this problem is a very important challenge. It's a very difficult issue to reconcile, to solve these conflicting ideas. Okay, the local community needs to encourage towards that, to expand their farming size, but the government needs to protect it. Okay, this is a point of conflict for that resource. Another challenge is overgrazing, okay, over exploitation of plant species, grass, water, so on and so forth. That result, okay, in the degradation of the homes of wild animals. Illegal wildlife trade, illegal hunting, illegal encroachment towards this resource is also another very serious challenge in Ethiopia, especially. The pressure of tourists, okay, even though tourism, even though tourists, okay, are very important source of dollar, they have a very huge, okay, pressure on wild animals, on the environment, on our life, our culture, so on and so forth. Okay, so the volume of tourists has also a very huge impact and is a challenge. Okay, tourists have different level of knowledge about wild animals, about the environment, about the culture of that local community, so on and so forth. So this knowledge variation, information variation, and so on has a pressure on that. The expansion of mining, the expansion of construction materials, need, so on and so forth, has also an impact on that. Okay. forest fire, as I have said before. These are some of the challenges of wildlife resource. Okay, but it's possible to solve these problems, even though challenges are there. If we do much more, if we strive, if as a country, as a government, if we exert our effort, we can rehabilitate, we can reconcile these problems, we can solve this challenge. Okay, for instance, we can manage illegal firing, illegal hunting, illegal trading. Okay, we can also manage, okay, the pressure of tourists. We can manage the encroachment of people to our visit by allocating sufficient budget to this purpose. These are some of the issues related to soil, related to vegetation, related to wild animals, and the problems encircling wild animals, the plant species or forests, and our soil. These are some of the mechanisms that we discussed to rehabilitate the degraded soil, rehabilitate the deforested trees, and rehabilitate the, in fact, in a very degraded environment, you can imagine when vegetations are degraded, animals are forced to leave that area and search a new protected areas. Okay, so animal migration, especially endemic animal migration, is very serious. Okay, we are losing our endemic animals today because of our encroachment, our involvement on this bad activity. So we have to protect our environment. You are responsible to at least aware your family about your environment. If you aware your family, okay, you are expected to put your fingerprint at least on environmental management. Thank you very much for coming today, and I think this is all about geography of Ethiopia and the whole. The remaining chapter 7 and 8 are chapters where your assignment questions are stemmed from. So you have to read these chapters. You have to compute your assignments and submit or forward to me on time. Thank you very much.
ልዩነት መፍጠር ዓላማችን ነው። ዓለም አቀፍ ተወዳዳሪ መሆን አለባችሁ። የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ጥራትና ደረጃውን የጠበቀ ስልጠና በመስጠት ብቁ ዜጋ እያፈራን ነው። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ፣ በቲኬቲንግና ሪዘርቬሽን፣ በሆቴልና ቱሪዝም ሙያዎች አሰልጥነን ተወዳዳሪ እናደርጉታለን። ኮሌጃችን ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ICM ጋር በመተባበር ዓለም አቀፍ ዕውቅና ያለው ስልጠና እየሰጠ ይገኛል። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን በበረራ መስተንግዶ የምንሰጣቸው ስልጠና ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና አለው። አድራሻ ከጎላጉል ታወር 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።